Hello, hello, hello. Tuned in. If you are watching this live, let us know. Hashtag live in the chat. Hashtag replay if you're watching this afterwards. We're here today to talk about 3 keys to get you retail ready. So whether you are a product-based business or perhaps a company that works with product-based businesses, you're going to learn some great things here today. So before we dive into today's topic, let's do some quick introductions. Stephen, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Stephen Lerman from Chameleon BDS. If you're looking to get in front of more businesses to sell your products, but just don't have the time or don't like picking up the phone or just don't have the resource internally, then please give me a call and I can help you get in front of those clients, update your CRMs, make those appointments, and hopefully increase your sales.
Fantastic. And welcome, Stephen. Jessica, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm a brand consultant designer, which means I make sure you've got a brand that stands out, overtakes you from competition, and brings loyalty within your business. Your brand is so much more than your logo, though. So your logo is only 16% of your brand. So there's 84% more that your brand needs to be able to stand out, bring more loyalty. So that's the sort of stuff that I do with my clients. I help design and manage a fully brand.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. And if you don't know me yet, my name is Una Doyle. My business is Creative Flow. I'm a brand strategist and coach. And I help business owners to grow a business that they could sell tomorrow, but probably don't want to because it's highly profitable. They and team members are in creative flow and they're getting to make a bigger impact in the world. Now, if you want to know how you can double your profits, then DM me or comment below and I'll be happy to show you in only a few minutes. So let's dive into today's topic then. 3 keys to get you retail ready. Well, before we even kind of go into those keys, Jess, what does being retail ready mean and what impact does it have?
So when I say retail ready, a lot of businesses, especially product-based businesses, an ambition, a vision, a goal is to be able to get your products in as many stores as possible. So the other stores are churning it out, getting your products in front of people, and you're kind of just supplying it, taking away that kind of half a headache, kind of adding a little bit of a new one, but just evolving your business is where you're being in the likes of Booze, Selfridges, Waitrose, things like that. A lot of the time when product based owners with the products, they know that the products are, they're amazing, aren't they? They're the next best thing. You know that your products will make a difference to the lives of your customers, yet for some reason there's some barrier between you being able to get in these higher end retailers. So being partners with Booths, Waitrose, Selfridges and things like that, you can get in front of more people and you can make sure your product impacts more lives and things like that. So there's criterias and there's different things that you need to do to be able to get in front of these retailers. So when I say retail ready, that's what I mean. Get in front of these big players and getting some partners in the big player game.
And just what you're talking about here today, does that apply to, so say you've got the type of product that would be more likely to go in, say, independent shops, and it would be more like you acting as a wholesaler as opposed to that direct distribution to the huge chains. Is it all the same or is that different?
It's if I understood that right, you can have both. You can have it as where you're independent and you're selling independent and you're also giving to independent shops, but then you're also kind of becoming a wholesaler where you're supplying to the bigger chains. I suppose it depends how much you want to take it within your business. A lot of businesses just sell to partners and just become a wholesaler. Other brands will still have their own their own shop, their own independent kind of way of people accessing their brand. So does that answer it?
Yeah. The reason I was thinking is because I know of like some e-commerce owners, and kind of once they actually kind of are selling their product, then a fantastic way of kind of achieving exponential growth is to then start wholesaling that product. Or products, range of products that they may have. So what kind of stage of business would that kind of product business need to be in to start thinking about this?
So if your vision does include being in retailers, whether you become a wholesaler or whether you still have your independent side to it as well, if your vision is that, it's never too early to start thinking about these sort of things. So if you're a startup and you're thinking, yeah, this is a real big dream, maybe in 5 years I want to do this, but right now I could not even comprehend it, then still be conscious about this sort of stuff now. And alternatively, if you're maybe trying to get in front of these brands, these big players, maybe you've got a chance to pitch and they've turned it down for some reason, or whether you're not even getting through the door to be able to pitch, there's something stopping you. These, especially Booths and a few of the others, they have a criteria, a checklist that they're ticking off whenever someone approaches them with their product or their brand. There's someone sat there literally with a checklist looking at it going tick tick, oh no, tick tick, no, next, and to have access, you can actually have access to that checklist. It is accessible on their website, especially with Booths, because they want you to be able to fit into this criteria. So thinking about it now, whether you are ready to jump into it next year, get in front of them this year, or whether you're thinking, yeah, this is great, but maybe in a few years' time, consider these things now, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, great. So morning, Chris. I've got a question from Chris. How does retail differ from trade, or does it?
Life's questions. Retail differ from trade. So in a sense of, when you say trade, are you talking about kind of a service rather than?
I think you might mean wholesaling, actually.
Right. Okay.
Trade buying as opposed to retail. So maybe he means, like, I guess some people looking at this might think, oh, is this about me setting up my own shop and directly retailing to the public?
Right. Okay. Yeah. So you can still have that kind of retail, and then you can still kind of wholesale. It's kind of the same kind of thing, isn't it? But a lot of businesses do tend to just become trade then, don't they? So a lot of businesses, you can go on the web, a lot of businesses that you find in, I don't know, even in Boots, you can find certain brands in Boots and you can't directly buy from them. You kind of list down the wholesalers. So it does differ, doesn't it, from providing a product to be able to sell in it. But you can still have both. Is this making sense?
Yeah. I think it's key of, it's looking at distribution channels. So this is something I'm often working with clients when we're looking at, well, what's their sales process? And depending on the size of business and what kind of business it is, there often will be multiple sales channels, and they may need different sales processes for each. Which, if you think about it, if you have a brick and mortar store, then your sales process direct to consumer is different than if you are selling to big chains. And obviously your operations have to be different because you have to be able to ramp up production hugely, don't you? Compared to maybe, say, an e-commerce store owner who's now starting to sell to some shops. Maybe they're selling to wholesalers, maybe they're kind of wholesaling directly. There's a few different channels, isn't there, that people, that business owners can take with that. And they probably need to, I would imagine what you're talking about probably would apply across those different channels. I think you've kind of put this together thinking about those buyers of the big stores.
Rather than the consumer and operational side of it. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay. That clarifies it for me as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we want to get clear on what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chris, for that. Yeah, because I think I wanted to be clear as well. So so I'd asked right. So the last question I asked was about what stage do they need to be at, and you very sensibly said, well, you want to be thinking about this long ahead of when you actually plan to do it. And I think that's really smart, because otherwise the business might be making some mistakes that would prevent them even being considered. And those mistakes could take quite a while and perhaps an investment to redo things, to do things in a different way, I imagine. So so let's tell us about these 3 keys then, Jess. What's the
Even
first one?
yeah, just to kind of jump back a little bit to the stage of business. Even if you're not, even if this sort of stuff isn't in the light, you know, the kind of isn't in your tunnel vision at the minute with what goals you've got and what visions you've got. Maybe you're thinking, okay, I need to battle one challenge first, which is getting the money in my business to actually be able to do this. So maybe you're getting investors on board, or someone that, you know, has more access to these sort of retailers and things like that. So even if your plan is, yeah, I want to do this, but first I've got to find an investor and other people to invest in my business, then having these sort of things mapped out in advance, even to that, will help you get an investor on board as well. So yeah, looking at it from that different angle as well.
Okay,
So yeah, 3 things. Let's get straight into it. So you want to get your brand, your packaging, everything up to scratch and everything noticed. So the first thing is that obviously Booths, Waitrose, Selfridges might sound simple, but there's a lot to it. They want you to have high quality products and packaging in place. So being up to scratch with the regulations is really important. I know that, I read this only this morning actually, that people are trying to get a petition together to change the regulation on packaging to make it more accessible and more easy to open and operate. So I think the stat was 60% of people aged between, it's like 55 to 100 really struggle with opening packaging. So whether it's a pull cap, a screw, whether it's like a cling film wrap or whatever it is, you know, people are struggling to get in there. So at the minute there's a petition going around. So if this is something that you're interested in, definitely look it up. To get enough signatures on this petition to open it up to Parliament to be able to change the regulation of some of this packaging and how it's made, and how accessible it is to people. So things like that, just being in the know with things like that is really, really important. But making sure that you've got all the regulated information on there, making sure that you've got all the ingredients breakdown, all this, and you know, you've got everything highlighted the way it does, everything easy to read. You've got nutritional value and information. You know, a lot of especially food products want that on the front now, don't they? You know, that's kind of a regulation on there. So so making sure you know it's all in the right place and it's all clear, and people can see it. Also, make sure you've carried out, the shelf life testing and been able to prove that as well. So all these sort of regulated stuff, make sure you kind of have them all in order. Barcodes, everything kind of needs a barcode on there now. There's an easy app that you can do to create your own barcodes. So if that's something you're interested in, drop me a message. I'll let you know the equipment that I use. But as well as having all the regulated kind of all that information, all that legal stuff on there, it's still got to be attractive and it's still got to stand out. It's still got to pull people in to actually want to buy into the product. So be conscious about, well, your audience. You know, you would have definitely done work on this before getting to this stage. Make sure that your packaging actually does talk to your audience. You know, the colours that you use in the shapes, everything else that's in there. Make sure it's attracting them. It's a crucial part of that sales process, having your packaging right. So many, even big brands that you might be looking up to be like, if only I could be more like them, they make mistakes in this part. They might have all the regulated stuff done, everything that they need on there, but they've got it designed in such a, you know, little way that's pushing people off and sacrificing the sales. So this is why I want to show you a little bit of an example of that, looking into the design aspect of your packaging. So Tropicana, let me share my screen. There we go. Can we see that?
Yes, we can.
So Tropicana rebranded from the one that you can see on the left to the one that you can see on the right. The reasoning behind that, I don't know. Maybe it was we're evolving our image, we're evolving our message, whatever it is. They rebranded their products in a slightly different packaging. Now, this had huge effect on their bottom line, which I'll go into the numbers after. But I want to show you why first. So you might think, looking at it at face value, you might think, yeah, it's neater, it's cleaner. It's got a bit more of a modern font. Yeah, I kind of get it. It's not the original, but you know, it's not too bad. I don't know, Stephen, Una, what do you think about the difference with the new and the older version?
For me, you know, because Tropicana's been around such a long time, you get used to recognizing the brand, don't you? So I've always recognized Tropicana as it's the orange with the straw in and the font. When you look at the other one on the right hand side, it looks like a copy. It looks like something, you know, that you would find in not a bargain store, but like a copy or a fake version of Tropicana, if you will. That's my perception. You know,
Yeah.
so
I can see what I can see what they're trying to do by making it, oh, here's your orange juice in a glass. Yet actually, I think there's something very appealing about that straw stuck in the orange. It makes it feel fresher
and natural, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like you can drink the orange, you can drink the
Yeah.
juice straight from the orange
Exactly. Yeah.
without any of the additives. You know,
Yeah.
having no additives or very little additives.
Yeah. And I was
really
trying
great,
to see if the Tropicana, like they changed. Like when you look at it closely, you can see it's a slightly different color. Like on the original one, it's darker on the bottom. It's slightly curved. All of that is gone. I think it just all looks a bit bland.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really interesting. I love the one where you're saying this, you know, the straw and the orange. It kind of gives that story, and that you almost can taste it, can't you? You can almost experience, you can almost hold an orange as you're looking at that. And I've heard that before as well, where the new one looks a bit more like an own brand, so very simplified, very pulled back. So yeah, great point. So even though that's kind of an opinion base, you know, we've just come here and shared our opinions. There's a science behind that as well that's going on in your brain without you maybe consciously realizing it. So any great designer knows that you know, there's a science to how people see things, even as simple to how you read. Especially in our culture, we leave left to right, top to bottom, and we'll tend to read the things that jump out to us first. So if they're a bit bigger and if they're in a different color, our minds will go there, and then it'll automatically go left to bottom. So that's quite a simple thing to remember. But there's so much other things that go on in the back of our mind, in the back of our brain when we're seeing things. So I wanted to show you a heat map of the difference between these before I go into the actual figures of you know, the damage that it actually caused. So I love this image. I found this image on a blog when I was searching for these packaging ideas. But as you can see on the original, the logo is the one dominant thing that you see. And like you said, Stephen, people have that sentimental value towards that brand, won't they? So when they see that, because it's so old and traditional, when they see that, they'll feel that that joy and want to reach for it, and that they'll recognize it. So they'll go, oh yeah, I know that. I'll trust it. I'll put it in my basket. So you can tell that the eye goes there, and that's really all that it needs to do. Then it's not overcomplicating things. Whereas the newer design, you can tell the eye goes straight to 100% orange, pure and natural. Now, if we look at how you differ from competition, there's probably 10 other brands of orange juice sat next to this one, and they all probably say 100% pure and natural orange juice. So does it stand out? Do you know, is it giving anyone any reason to pick that one over the others? And you can't even see the logo. You know, yeah, the first one is right in front of you on the front face of the packaging. But as I was saying about how we see things and how our brain works, our brain isn't seeing that. We're not recognizing that as a logo or as anything to take in. So if I stop sharing, so even the regulations and the important legal stuff, yeah, that's sort of all really crucial. But don't forget about the actual design and the quality of the design of your packaging as well. So to go into some numbers, just to bring it back to numbers and facts and figures, I suppose. Tropicana invested $35 million in advertising a campaign that promoted that new packaging. So to get that new packaging design, to change everything and get it out there on the shelves, they spent $35 million. The sales dropped by 20%. So they lost $30 million just by a loss of sales.
Wow.
Okay. But now if you think, okay, they're in a pickle now because they're losing sales, they need to get back to it. So they need to spend even more to go back to the original, replace everything on the shelf and get it all sorted. So in total, Tropicana spent more than $50 million on this. And they had all the regulations in place. It was simple design mistakes that got them there. And got their competition to take over them. You know, some people probably moved to the competition and never went back. So yeah, moral of the story is, you know, having them important information on, but also making sure your design is fit for purpose as well.
Quick question for you. All this money that's involved, like it said 35 million. Do they not do market research? Do they not? Because at the end of the day, it's what's appealing to the eye, because that's the first thing people see. It could be the best taste in the world, but if the packaging doesn't look attractive, they're gonna walk right past it. It's all about, you know, when you get drawn to something, don't you? When you're in a shop and you look at a shelf, the first thing you see is the packaging. If it doesn't look appealing, they're going to walk straight past it. Somebody should have been fired for that. That's terrible.
They maybe were. Listen, they spent 30 million. They lost 30 million. They then spent a further 50 million. So they were actually down $110 million, right? We've got a question here from Michael. A statement. Much of this packaging has evolved for safety. Example, click-lock, child-proof bottle tops and sealed containers to prevent ransom attacks. Great. I don't think that would have affected the design choice, though.
That might be going back to the petition that we're talking about in making things easy, accessible, because that's another crucial point. And you know, people have lost their lives off products being spiked. You know, it's very key point.
Yeah. So Mike is also saying Tropicana would have visually tested the new packaging with multiple focus groups. A huge area of orange gives a clue as to drawing the eye on the shelf compared to others, but playing around a well-recognized logo is not to be recommended. I'm just going to try and read this. They lost the loyalty. Right, that was a little bit that got cut off at the end there.
Maybe they did just do too much at once. Maybe that was it. You know, maybe. You know, we won't know if we weren't in that boardroom at the time, but they definitely wouldn't have gone blindly, but there were definitely some mistakes and some corners cut, weren't there?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. Well, I think it's interesting to see that visual heat map is really enlightening, actually. So you would kind of think that will be done for all brands who are looking to change their logos and change the packaging. Well, no, they changed the logo as well. And as you say, maybe it was just too much all in one go.
You don't want people doing that in the supermarket, do you? Trying to
It's kind of like being in a bookshop, isn't it? Like, do you remember those bookshops? You feel like this going along the shelves.
You're asking people to do more, aren't you, to get into it, and you want to make things as simple as possible.
Exactly. Frictionless. That's what you tend to want for consumer sales. So great. All right. So that's key number one. What's key number two, Jess?
So key number two, something else that they'll be asking and wanting to know from you is, can you prove that you can actually produce to all of the stores? So are you being too ambitious, or can you actually produce to all the stores? So again, with Booths, I keep referring back to Booths because it's a brand that I've looked into on especially how you can do this. They've got around 28 stores. So you want to be able to prove or have a track record or something that you can scale and actually produce that for all them stores. So even if everything looks great and everything's amazing, Booths might be kicking themselves because we really want this product, but can they really deliver? So they'll go to the next one. They imagine the amount of inundated things they're getting in.
I think this is really key right now. Like, there are legitimate logistical concerns for a lot of product-based companies right now. I was talking with a business owner, someone who I'm going to be interviewing on my podcast. I'm really looking forward to their interview, actually. They have a product-based business. They had to they launched their business, and then it just got completely spiked by COVID. But part of the issue was that their products that they wanted to sell and they had customers for were held up they were held up kind of in, I think it was like in customs or at the borders or something for 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, there's still issues with certain factories in the Far East and the logistics and shortage of containers and all of these kinds of things. So I think, those are legitimate things that people need to be looking at. I guess it's an incentive for things to be manufactured in this country rather than abroad in the Far East. So maybe that's something that if a business is doing that, I guess that could be an extra selling point, couldn't it?
Yeah, yes, it just reduces that risk, doesn't it? Sorry, Stephen, go on.
What was that?
Sorry, and produce locally as well. The cost of fuel, and the other crisis at the moment.
Yeah, lots of factors going into that right now.
Yeah. So make sure you can be able to maintain and increase that capacity in a certain way, and kind of prove that as well. So keeping your operations, your logistics, all that in mind as well, because many of us entrepreneurs, it's very easy to run off with an idea and make it look great, make it feel great, but really is the detail, is the cogs working in the background. So that's they're very much looking that you can prove that as well. So that's something else to consider. Your third one, your third thing to make sure that you're working on, and you're kind of it's a focus point at the minute for you and your team, is building up that reputation and that loyalty around your brand. So you want to prove that people love your product and they love what you do and they want to be part of that. So a key thing that you can do is build a community around your brand, and then you can prove and you can show, look, people love us, people will follow us, people will come in your store just to buy our product because they love our brand so much. What's in it for them to be a partner with you? So if you focus on building that loyalty and building that retention, building that reputation, that will help you as well, kind of get in front of any other similar products that are trying to get into their stores as well. Like I said right at the beginning, visuals is only 16% of this. So there's 84% more that your brand needs to be able to build loyalty, retention, and have that winning reputation. So if you want a checklist into that, then drop me a message and I can send you a breakdown of the 6 things. It's part of my 6-step process as well. So I can send you a video to just quickly watch that in your own time. But yeah, just prove that people can know, like, and trust your product and your brand. 80%. This is a stat I want to kind of throw out there, because if you're listening to this and going, yeah, I know people love us, I know that we've got this nailed. It's always great to be reviewing it and actually realigning it, because 80% of brands do think that. 80% of brands think our customers love us, they'll do anything for us, we've got this retention, this stay, we deliver this superior customer service that we know that they'll love, so we don't need to worry about this too much. But then when people have actually been interviewed, only 8% of people feel like they get that experience from the brands that they interact with. So it's very easy to be blindsided by that when you're in your business, and what you know the ins and outs of it. So making sure that your customers actually really do enjoy your brand and want to be part of it. You being able to prove that. An easy way that you can do that is by having a great CRM system in place, or something to be able to track, the retention and loyalty from your customers. So HubSpot is a great place to start, even if you don't want to invest in HubSpot. Being able to track that through a software similar, or getting some resources and things like that from HubSpot is a great one.
Yeah, we've got some other things from Michael. Michael, I'll come to those in a minute, but before I do, I think what you're really talking about here is measurement, isn't it? So people actually tracking and measuring, and this seems to be a point where, again, customer research is going to be really key, isn't it? That, as you say, I think it's so easy, and I come across this all the time with my business coaching clients, where they're really in love with what they do, and often they're clients are. I mean, I deal more with service-based businesses than product. I've worked with both. And I think it's easy for people to just kind of have these rose-tinted glasses on, and because they have got happy customers, think, oh, well, everybody feels like this about what we do. But do people actually really have that clarity? Is there enough distinction between them and their competitors for people to actually, to be able to, go, well, yes, this brand, and this is why. So I think, as you say, stepping back, being independent, looking, being able to observe independently is really important. And so Michael's just agreeing with that. I just want to go back to Michael did say something earlier on about when we're talking about key 2. There's great opportunity to supply from here. Also greener, I presume is what you meant. When you type in quickly, it's so easy. I made mistakes earlier, Michael. It's not just you. So yeah, it is greener as well if you can manufacture locally. Not to mention the fact that obviously, providing local employment and things like that. So Mike is also saying don't mess around with a well-recognized logo. when recognition drops, so do sales. Yeah, absolutely.
So many agencies and designers will quickly take your money to design you an amazing logo. Like the snap of a button, they'll do that. But you need to have the other things in place as well. Whether you're getting the other things in place separately or with them, that's up to you. But make sure you're conscious of them other things. I'm going to put a link in the comments to a guide that I've got. It gives you 5 brand hacks. So if you're looking at, okay, right, yeah, I'm enjoying my logo, I like my logo, but what else can I do? Click on this link and grab this guide.
Apologies for the background noise. Just check, Stephen and Jess, do you have your phones in airplane mode? Because I think that's what's causing the feedback. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the weather. Before we went live, I was having challenges. Sometimes rain and things can affect our signals. So apologies.
Yeah. It seems to have gone now, but yeah. So yeah, I'll put a link into that, and you can have a look at just 5 hacks that you can do to if you just want to patch up things that you're working on at the minute. But another example that I wanted to share as well that I read recently was, whilst I'm getting this link up, was, I don't know if you've heard of the menstrual cups.
Oh yeah.
So they've recently rebranded to be able to attract more investors and things like that. So they want to obviously grow that part of the business, and they want to change not only the products people are using during that time, but the mindset and and that people have around it. It doesn't become a burden every month; it becomes a celebration. You jump on what's happening, whether it's emotionally or physically. So their mission is very strong on that, but they're very clear on their brand idea. They've even openly said that their brand idea is based around simplicity and making that impact. So they've made sure that they've got all this fully functioning brand to be able to attract these investors and these other partners. That's not stopped at rebranding their logo visually, what you might start seeing over the next few weeks. It goes deeper than that, and they've really kind of uncovered what they stand for and what their brand idea is and how they present in front of people. So again, the link that I've posted will just give you some insight into how you can get that as well.
Fantastic. Well, there's been some really good things covered in these 3 keys, Jess. Stephen, any thoughts or questions on what we've covered so far today?
No, I think packaging is so important. Competition is so fierce for shelf space. It befuddles me what Tropicana did, and it just goes to show that even the big giants make mistakes. So how difficult is it for the smaller independents that are trying to get shelf space, trying to compete with the big boys? It's unbelievable. And then the point that Michael made about market research is so key. Get it right. Smaller organizations can't afford to make those types of mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because even it is about asking the right questions and about putting the right materials in front of people. So and I think research will get you so far. I think the ultimate test is when products get on the shelves and then they see what happens. So that's the ultimate test of all. I think there have been situations where things kind of did really well in focus groups, but then somehow they've flopped. I don't know if it's the execution of something or, but it definitely is going to, if you don't do that, then you're really working in the dark, aren't you? But I think sometimes especially in larger organizations, decisions can be made by committee. And so there might be, you know, consumer data and research and things, but then somebody is going, no, I don't like that. I want it this way. In the, you know, things like that happen in companies. You know, a lot of decisions are made emotionally, not based on logic, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even then, that's the importance of having that fully formed brand, because it stops that from happening. Because when, you know, when someone does step up and go, well, actually, I want to do this because I feel this is better, you can say, well, actually, that doesn't align with our brand. That doesn't push us forward, and it just keeps you balanced, because we're all human. We all have our opinions. We all have our personal preferences, and we all have great ideas. You know, whether they come small or big. You know, whether we're loud about it, whether we're quiet about it. So just something that keeps us aligned, can prevent that. But yeah, great points.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for sharing, Jess. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments, and Jess will come back and answer them for you.
Yes.
We will be back same time next week. We look forward to speaking with you then. Keep an eye out. We'll be posting that in the next day or two, so you can see what our topic is. So thanks very much again, Jess. Thanks again, Stephen. We will say bye for now.
Bye, everyone.